accepted.
All right, thank you very much, guys. Should we give a minute or should we get started? I see we already have quite a lot of folks here. So first of all, thank you very much for attending the session. I really appreciate that. And I know it's going to be a tough session right after the lunch. So I have a pretty I have to do a pretty good job to make sure that you guys are awake whole throughout 50 minutes that I've got. Okay. And I've got this as well. Let me connect it over here. So what we're going to do today is talk about the data-driven DevOps, how to deliver software faster, right? Better software faster. Now, the whole point that we'll be covering as part of this is talking through about the value stream management, how it works, what is value mapping, how can you look out for wastages as part of the overall DevOps process so that we as developers are never being cushioned, right? How often is the case that we are always being asked by the business that they're not happy, and it's us, the developers, who are being blamed upon, right? So, quick introduction about myself. I have been associated with HCL for the last decade and more. Actually, it's going to be 11 years shortly. And in my stint, I've played various different roles within the organization. In my current role, I work with customers globally and help them in their digital transformation journey. I'm a very strong believer of change is the only constant. And that's something that I thought I coined it, but then later on realized it wasn't I who did so. But then, having said that, that's the approach that I take with all of our customers, right? It's a solution-driven approach that we take to our customers to make sure that their goals are achieved and they are successful in their digital transformation journey. The agenda that we have put across for today, it's going to be crisp. We would start with a little bit about HCL Technologies. I'm pretty sure that you guys know about HCL Technologies, but we'll give you a sense of who we are, our credentials, our values, our market recognition, so to say. And then we go into the whole discussion around what is value stream management, the core discussion that we have for today, right? And then we talk about one of the products that HCL owns out of many products that we own within our portfolio. And it's not just a services company, and most of the people know out there. We are also a product OEM. So we'll talk about one of the products that can help you in achieving your goals in data-driven DevOps, right? And if time permits, we're going to run through a quick demo of 10 minutes. It's a video demo, and that would make things much clearer to you all in terms of how you can identify the wastage and the bottlenecks as part of your value stream or value chain, and then put that into consideration while you're planning for your next sprints, so on and so forth. All right, to start with, quick credentials of HCL. We are an $11.4 billion company spread across 52 countries and have around 209 plus thousand ideapreneurs. We call them ideapreneurs because that is where the idea gets generated with the customers. And we are very diverse in our culture. And we have about 165 nationalities working in that 209,000 employees globally. We are one of the fastest growing technology major in the last 10 years. And I'm very proud in saying this, that just last year we were a $10 billion company. And as I speak today, we are almost $11.5 billion company. And we have got great opportunities within the company. And if you guys are looking for any kind of a change or are looking for anything interesting, do reach out to us. We are 2 floors down, right opposite Salah 1 conference room. You can drop by and we can discuss more about the opportunities that we may have. The values that drive HCL we're a very employee-centric organization, right? So the culture is very employee-centric. And the values that we strive for and drive for is employee first, right? And this is something which is very interesting because we do understand employees are the face of the company at any given point in time, because major chunk of our business comes from IT and business services, right? And in such kind of services, you need to be front-ending with the customer, with the CISOs, with the CIOs, with the CTOs, CDOs, and that's where the value gets created, and that gets reflected as part of our overall culture within the organization, and that brings the value centricity, right? And it helps us develop the relationship with the customers beyond the contract, right? And that's done through our trust, transparency, and flexibility whole throughout. Last but not the least, it is giving back to the society, and social responsibility is something that we take very seriously. And just to give you guys a sense of it, in the last 10 years, we have positively impacted 2.1 million people globally. And even very recently, with what's going on in the world with the war and everything, HCL actually was one of the initial organizations to step forward and show our support towards what's happening in the world. All right, so the market recognition that I did happen to talk about, with all that culture and values that we have and the employee centricity, the market has recognized us generously. We have been the world's best employer by Forbes this year, 2021-22. We are certified great place to work in 2021-2022, and we are one of the top employers in 17 of the countries, where we operate out of. And to top it all, we are the best employers in Europe 3 years in a row, including Poland and Sweden as one of the topmost employer, right? And that is just to give you a sense that it is a diverse company. It is something, what we talk as part of this presentation is not just on the PPT, but it actually percolates in our overall work culture that we bring onto the table. This in particular I wanted to put across is because, as I said right at the start, that while we are known very much for our service-oriented nature of business, right? But we are not just that. So we focus on 3 segments as part of our business. One is IT and business services. And then we have engineering and R&D services. And the third most critical one that has come very recently with HCL, it's just since 2016 that we brought this into existence through various different acquisition, is the products and platform business. And as part of this business, we are the product OEMs. It's not just that we work with various different products for our customers and service them. We also have our own products that we develop within HCL that are enterprise grade to be sold in the market. And you can look us up on Gartner's elsewhere to see where we have our standings over there on various different aspects of it. There are various different software product frameworks where we have our portfolio of products, whether it is secure DevOps, whether it is customer experience, digital solutions, or whether it is the automation of various different processes within the organization, right? So we have got products for all of those different segments of solutions, so to say. All right, so that was a quick, overview of who we are. And as I said earlier, feel free to drop by at our booth, and we'll be happy to get into much detailed discussion in terms of looking at any opportunities that may suit you all. All right, so with that, let's get into the topic of today, which is data-driven secure DevOps, right? And there are a few things that we need to be keeping into consideration, and we need to know as part of this. So, few questions that come into mind, and I did touch upon this when we started this presentation. How often is it that when we are working in an organization and the business is not really happy about it, right? I mean, always. I mean, I haven't seen a customer in last 15 years wherein the business comes up and say, bravo, I mean, this is what was expected, this is what we did, and it was delivered on time, right? And that is where, and it's primarily because the overall, I would say, value is seen at one level, which is at the IT level. And we completely forget the other side of the story where the ideation and the whole process of agile development comes into picture, right? And we'll go through that in a little while. And that is where we'll have to understand what is value stream mapping. Can we map the whole complex process right from ideation to production or to market, right? Then what is value stream management? Right? And what values can it bring onto the table for everyone within the organization? Why is data-driven DevOps so important in software delivery of lately? Right? Everyone is talking about it. And what is so important about it that one should know? And can we meet the expectations of business ever? Now, that's a million-dollar question that I would eventually leave it to you all, to take it to your customers and see if that value mapping and value stream management actually eventually helps you all in getting that sorted. So there has been a fundamental shift in the software delivery, right? I mean, people have gone in and have invested into various different technologies to automate various different processes within the value chain, right? Within the software development pipelines. So you would see that you have XYZ tool to do your, the build, to make sure you have a repo with using a different tool, and then you have various different tools to do continuous delivery, continuous testing, security scanning, and then going into the production, right? And this is where every customer has already come into, right? So we all started with a traditional way of waterfall, doing everything in a very streamlined manner and making sure that there's no changes coming in between. Then we moved into a more iterative way of working through agile. Then we moved into everything continuous through the DevOps way of working, right? Continuous integration, continuous testing, continuous delivery, continuous assurances, availabilities, and whatnot. So what we see with the customers as we speak with them today is everyone is looking for the next gen. Now, they've got the tools, they have automated it, they have got the desired results that they're looking for, but still there is a lack of business agility, right? There is still a disconnect between IT value and business value, right? And that is the whole point that comes in the next gen software delivery model, right? And everyone is looking for how can we eliminate what has already been put across. Everything is automated, but still there are followers. Still there are bottlenecks which we can't see through our eyes or through the reports that we get. But how can we identify that these bottlenecks that still exist, and how can we eliminate that, right? And it is primarily the use of AI, ML, driven data and features to help achieve that kind of a thing, right? So that is where the organization is moving towards. Everything, till now, automation was of prime importance, lean flow was of prime importance. Now it is the culture of bringing the IT values with business. That is taking precedence over anything else, right? And that is where, and this is, again, I have spoken about it, wouldn't go into details of it, but then it all started through automation. Okay, I'm not sure if it's working. It's working now, yeah. It all started through automation, right? Automating, shifting left, making everything continuous. That's where everything started. Then people went into the lean flow side of things, making sure how can we bring in best practices, optimize the flow across the value stream, so on and so forth. And now everyone is talking about the business agility side of things, wherein connecting the IT value with business value, right? And that's the cultural change that everyone is looking for. Now, this is something that I've put across to give everyone a sense what it is, right? When we talk about cultural change, it is not just one part of the story that we can concentrate on, right? We have to look at it from a holistic perspective of the system, not just the automation or the repetitive side of things, right? Look at the creative side of things as well, where, as I was talking about, the agility, the agile methodology of planning, right, and development. That is something that would be interesting to understand. And it is important, and this is my, I would say, way of saying that why is business usually not happy, right? So I've taken an example over here, and if I can point it, right? So let's say there was an idea from the business which came into existence, which was captured, but it took about 46 weeks to kind of get it delivered, right? And if you deep down, drill down and see what exactly was those 46 weeks, was it 46 weeks of effort of development? Of course not. And it would not be abnormal to know that 80% of that time was actually only into waiting in various different queues in your organization, right? So that's 80% of wastage whole throughout, right, from ideation to market, while the development and everything just took about 8 weeks. Now, what if, and it's primarily that we look out for the efficiencies to come into a particular process, right? As I was talking about the automation story all this while. So automation is good. That's the baseline to start with. Without that, of course, you cannot be reaching, to a value stream or the entire cost of delays and all of that stuff. You cannot reach there till the time you have a base level already set up, right? But then we are concentrated more on that and looking at efficiencies over there, but we do not look at the whole system right from the capture of an idea to the market, right? And as part of this, what if the customer would have, or the business owner would have put a value to this particular feature? Let's say it was worth $200,000 per week, right? And 38 weeks of wastage that has costed them about $8 million. Now, on the hindsight, wouldn't the customer would have done things differently if they would have known that it is $8 million that they're going to lose because it is going into various different queues? The developers are not available. There is no longer, the bandwidth of the testers aren't there. There are a lot of unplanned, activities that are coming into development team because of the feedback loop that's going with the enhancements or changes that has been done in the past, right? The prioritization is something that was missing, and there was no value and urgency which was put across for this particular feature to be delivered. Now, cost of delay actually helps you in 3 different ways, right? One is to make better decisions, do the trade-off, cheaper versus faster, whether it is worth to deliver it faster so that it's out in the market and we do not waste anything, or whether it should be cheaper, wherein, it goes through its own cycle, goes through its own queue, and we are okay to kind of, wait for it to get delivered. The other thing is on the prioritization, right? CD3, which is cost of delays divided by the duration it takes to be delivered. That helps you do the prioritization. Of course, if we still wait and see, go by our gut feeling in terms of prioritization, or use, the Moscow model or the Hippo model and, all of those models to kind of do it, I mean, not that they're not great. It's just that it doesn't really give you the value and the urgency of a particular feature to be, out in the market. The third most thing is the focus, right? Focus on the entire system to know that the feature that is to be delivered is actually worth the value, right? And it requires the urgency to kind of go ahead and get it delivered, right? Otherwise, we would be all back into the if there is no association of value or urgency for a particular idea, or if there is no way to kind of do that gauging of value, then we'll get into the whole discussion of cost versus time, right? I mean, that's what we'll be discussing on. How much would it require for this feature to be delivered, or how much time would it take to get delivered? And in a nutshell, I mean, it is really important, and this is at the business side of things, right? And this is where we have to be very clear. While the developer effort is not that much, it is the business that needs to make the decision in evaluating and making sure that the feature set that are coming as part of the sprint, are they worth to be weighted in queues, or are they rightly prioritized to kind of take to the market, right? Now, this is the whole, I would say, system delivery pipeline. We all are very much familiar with this, right? Wherein the ideation comes, that's the planned work that needs to go into the sprint. The developer would take that planned work, and they would also look at identification of the problematic code or the bugs that have come from the previous releases that needs to be catered to. That comes as an unplanned work for them, which needs to be kind of worked upon. And then there are, the SEM side of thing, wherein you will have to spot and eliminate processes, right? The bottlenecks, so to say. And then the build, you have to make sure that the bad builds doesn't go in. You have to reduce the overall security and testing side of things. You'll have to make sure, that the risk assessments are in place to make sure there's no faulty codes that going out, which may eventually cost you more. And the production side, wherein you'll have to see whether the changes that have been rolled out, how are they performing in the market? Are there any defects, which would, again, complete the feedback loop, but also provide the audit reports and all of that stuff, right? So this is a very typical, I would say, software delivery pipeline, right? Now, as I mentioned earlier, what we have been concentrating all this year is around the predictive or around the automation side of things, right? And if you see, this is what is the automation side of things, wherein the continuous of everything comes into existence. Continuous integration, testing, security, delivery, availability, right? Now, what we miss usually is the creative side of things, right? Which is usually the day two challenges, as we call in DevOps, right? So the day one challenge is to bring all the tools, automate everything, bring in a lean process, and be ready to kind of get going with it. But the day two challenge is where the creative side of things comes in, wherein, and this is very simple. I've just put across one ideation phase, right? There could be a core group, which kind of comes in for ideation, and there could be floating groups, right? Which are not core. Could be a solution architect, an SRE, and, InfoSec team, compliances team, who need to put in their feature set, or they have to provide their information to kind of include it as part of the overall sprint, right? And this is where the most of the time is kind of being taken up, right? So we'll have to address to this side of things, making sure that there are no bottlenecks. We streamline if there are any bottlenecks that we see. And there are various ways that you can identify a bottleneck, right? So it could be inflow, outflow, asymmetries. It could be, batching. It could be many different ways and through you can kind of go ahead and do that, right? Now, what value stream management brings onto the table is actually covering the whole end-to-end system, right? And it's not just looking at the automated delivery pipelines, but also looking at the agile development pipelines, right? And see how the entire process is going in the overall system. And that is where HCL Accelerate comes into picture, right? Okay, we have about 25 minutes, so I would probably take another 5-7 minutes on the slides, and then we can jump into the demonstration of it to kind of give you guys a view of how HCL Accelerate works on the ground, right? So HCL Accelerate, what it is, right? It's a value stream management platform that helps you visualize, govern, and optimize your continuous delivery of value streams, right? And there are various different features that it brings onto the table, which helps you do automated governance, brings in the AI ML capabilities to identify the bottlenecks right across your value stream, and make sure that how it works and how it kind of, how you can eventually go ahead and eliminate those things. All right, how it actually works. So it is not something that you are replacing in your overall DevOps cycle, so to say, right? So you have invested in your tools. You have various different tools that you have in the market, which you have adopted, automated, but you are complementing it by bringing an overall layer which can eventually manage the entire set of information that you're gathering. There's tremendous amount of data that is being gathered as part of your DevOps, right? I mean, with various different tools. This actually helps in collating all this data. So these are your existing investments. What HCL Accelerate brings onto the table is a data lake, which kind of pulls in all the information from various different tools. And it's not a one-way kind of an integration, right? Wherein you're just pulling in the data. We are not a BI tool. Let me put it that way, right? We are not a BI tool. We capture all that information. We have RESTful APIs to connect. We have a lot of plugins pre-built with most of the popular, I would say, DevOps products that are already in the market. But we also have, as we are completely open architecture, we can go ahead and connect to any tools in the market that has REST APIs with them, right? And we communicate back to them. So let's say there is change request which was opened, and as part of the release plan, once the release was approved and it got deployed onto the production system, it automatically goes ahead and changes that change request to complete. Right? And bringing in the whole governance in place from that standpoint, right? And what we do is we govern over the top of all of these tools and provide you with a value stream view, insightful, matrices around, whatever that you track for. It could be DORA matrix, it could be various other things that you would want to do as part of your organization specifically. And then it also provides a pipeline aggregated view of what's happening in the overall various different pipelines that are running within the organization, right? And we also, as I mentioned, the release orchestration or the release management side of things. So there is something for everyone when it comes to HCL Accelerate, right? If you're part of an agile team, you are given the ability to kind of go ahead and do value stream visualization in terms of how a work item is moving right from the ideation phase to development, to testing, to build, to testing, to deployment, so on and so forth. All of that is captured through these dots. And these dots are on a near real-time manner. And when we see the demonstration, you'll get to see how they move on a real-time basis from one phase to another, right? If you're part of the DevOps team, you would want to see the aggregated view of what's happening in various different pipelines, right? What build is running on which environment, and if you want to, automate the entire deployment plans, so to say, to do the release management, you can do it from here. To to the transformation leaders who would want to look at the various different matrices, right? Cycle time, release time, what has been the throughput, all of that information to be available to all the leaders and completely contextualized based on role-based access control, who needs to see what, right? And the release management, which is an enterprise-grade release management capabilities, which can help you do complex releases in a much automated way. Okay, and this is the value stream view that we bring onto the table, right? Each of these dots that you see over here, these are work items, right? And these work items are actually being pulled out from various different tools that you may have, and including the tools that you would probably be using for your planning, right? Because, I mean, the extended teams that is doing planning might use their own set of tools, right? Which is not usually used as part of your pipeline views. So all of that can be brought in, and it can be put across as part of the planning phase. And all of these phase is, again, something that can be defined based on the ways you work. There could be a code review phase that you want to bring in. There could be something before testing that you want to put across before it gets deployed. So all of this is very configurable, and you can bring all of that together. Each of these dots actually, each of these dots actually bring a correlation of data from various different tools that you currently have in your DevOps portfolio. Right? So a work item, how it moves through the life cycle can be actually seen in that dot itself while you click on it. You do not have to go to Jira to look out for what work item that a particular developer is working on, at what phase it is, what's going on. The entire auditability is very much there. And it looks something like this, right? And it highlights the red dots, if you see, these are the identification of the bottlenecks where and it's all determined through various different, as I said, AI, ML capabilities to kind of bring up. And it says that it is a long wait time for this particular work item that's been sitting at the testing side of things, right? And it is very unusual if something of this sort is happening. And how do we kind of go ahead? We look at the entire related items to it, who worked on it, what changes were done, all of that, and then take actions from here. All right, so this is my last one, and then we jump into the demonstration. So the common entry points, right? So you may currently be in the automation phase, may not have already got to that phase of cultural change within the organization, right? So in that case, you can start with very much bringing or supercharging your agile processes, right? Just start from there. Or it could be that you want to bring in the quality and risk results which are visible to everyone, right? To make sure there is no faulty development that's going into the market. So all of your security teams, risk and compliance teams can actually see various different types of testing that has been done onto this feature before it gets rolled out. You can surface the KPIs to the entire team. Entire development team can know whether or not they are on track in terms of the cycle time, the throughput, and all of that information based on what was achieved during the last sprint or a sprint prior to that, to know where they are, gauge themselves, and then kind of move ahead. And it also helps in automating your entire governance process through the automated release management and automating the CAP processes, so to say, right? With that, I'll jump into the demonstration of things. And as I said, HCL software is a product, enterprise-grade product organization, and we have got enterprise products for continuous integration, testing, security, deployments, so on and so forth, right? And this kind of gives you a quick view of what we have from a product's portfolio standpoint on secure DevOps. All right, so let me jump into the demo side of things. Let me see, how do I exit this? Okay, and go up here. All right. I'm not sure if I'm able to, yeah, here we are. Okay, so let's get started. Let me put it on a full screen mode. Oh, is this also connected to the speaker? No? How do we do that then? Is there a way we can do that? Or maybe I can put this across, right? Not sure. Oh. Okay, I can probably, let's see if I can run you through. So this is, we log into the system. This is a loan processing value stream that has been put across with various different work items coming from your backlog, from your planning stages, from your, the development side of things. So all of this gets automatically picked up from various different tools that you currently have into your DevOps tooling. And all of these, is it moving? Yeah, it is. Okay. And then it kind of gives you all of these dots, and we'll see how these dots will probably eventually move. And these dots, the whole, I would say the legends of what each of these dots are is kind of put across. You can select it by type, what you want to, what you are interested into. If you want to see only the work items that are running in a delayed way, or if you are looking at a particular applications for which that you would want to see the entire value stream, right? And all right, wasn't prepared for this one, that the volume wouldn't work, but then yeah. So this is where, and all these small little dots or the locks that you see, these are the ones that are your quality gates that you can put across whole throughout the value stream to make sure that only the quality development goes into the production side of things. And each of these dots, as you would see, would have all the information that can provide you with the auditability of what has happened, so that anybody who is picking this up eventually would know what has been worked upon on this particular work item throughout the development cycle. And all of these that you see on the top, these are the matrices that are being, showed up to every developer and every one in the organization who's working on this particular value stream to know where they stand, what is the, the level of automation testing, what has been the code coverage like, what are the incidents that has happened in the last 30 days, all of that information is put across. And then the red dots, as I said, there is a red circle to this orange dot. And that particular thing is highlighting that there is some kind of an anomaly that has come across for that particular work item. And you can look at the details of what really has happened around that and what it is, right? It also provides you with deployment frequency and build frequency, which is kind of really important when it comes to the DevOps team to kind of look at. And all of that information is pretty much shown over here. And this is what we are looking for, a particular value stream. You can bring in various different applications into a single value stream and see an aggregated view of what's going on out there. All right, and I've already talked about the incidents and other things that have been put across, and that's where the video is at the moment. So let me kind of go ahead. So this is again an interesting feature. With the distributed ways of working of late because of the pandemic, which kind of struck us, and that's where we thought, how do we rethink the whole stand-up meetings, right? That kind of eventually happens, and this is where you would see all the work items that are assigned to a particular individual against them through various different stages, so that you can do a better planning of the deployment work which needs to be assigned to a particular developer. And that ways, as a developer yourself, you would be pretty much in place to know that this is where I stand and my bandwidth is pretty much choked up. This is the aggregated view of all the pipelines that are coming in with various different builds running on various different environments, and what is available in the production environment, and you can put across the quality gates around there. I mean, as we just saw, and we'll probably see it one more time. This is again something which is very important because we should be aware of the deployments that are happening and what version that is being worked upon and what is currently running on your production environment to make sure that there are no governance issues going forward, right? And these are the quality gates, and you can define your own quality gates for that matter. This is something that has been defined in terms of whether the security scans have been completed, whether all the stakeholders have been approved, or whether you've got all the code quality in place, right? All right, and then if we move further along, you would see that we can initiate the release or the deployment plans right from there, right? Right from the aggregated view, you can kind of go ahead and initiate a deployment plan through a template. You can create your own templates for deployments, and you can have various different steps defined, a pre-deployment, deployment, and post-deployment kind of activities. And again, these are completely integrated with all of the tools that you may have within your organization that would be reading back from them and kind of, populating this information. And it would also give you information about the release readiness. So we have got these beautiful dashboards that kind of tell you at any given point in time what is the release readiness of the feature that is going to be rolled out, right? So that's something that comes in. This is our enterprise-grade release management option, wherein you can club in various different releases into a single enterprise release. And then, it could be independent or dependent. You can have sequential tasks, parallel tasks running together. All of that can come in, and you can kind of trigger everything from here, right? So this is just to give you a view of overall releases that are going as part of the sprint and what is the changes that needs to be done. What is the change request that is associated with that particular sprint? And once the release is deployed successfully, it would go ahead and change that particular information back into the tool. Right? So last thing that I would want to kind of put across is the insights. I see I only have 5 minutes left. So the last thing, this is all the release planning and the release stuff, right, that we just spoke about. And all right, the insights, the dashboards that everyone gets interested about, right, in an organization to know what it is and how we can kind of go ahead and track all of these different matrices that's been looked up. So, and this is where it kind of, it is very configurable. It comes with a bundle of, all the DORA matrices and all the other key matrices of DevOps that are out in the market. So it is pre-built with all of that. But at the same time, you have the capabilities of develop something of your own and then, put it over here. There are various filters through which you can, see what you really want to see. And if you're a developer and you're very much concentrated in looking at what you have done and what changes are specific to you, you can actually drill down to that level and see. All of these are pretty much actionable. You can drill down, see what's going on, and how it kind of reflects eventually. And you see there are tons of different matrices that are available within HCL Accelerate. All right, and then lastly is, and this is how you can drill down and see everything that's happening. So yeah, and even for your security and the quality guys, right? If they want to see what has been the testing that has been done on any of the releases that have come in, whether it is functional or non-functional kind of scanning or testing that has been done. So all that information would again something be captured all along in a real-time manner and be reflected to you to know that whether or not this particular feature that has been come up or this particular feature which has been developed is ready for your release, right? So that's about HCL Accelerate. That's about value stream management and how we kind of bring this all together. I guess that's my time. I still have 3 minutes, so if there are any questions, I'll be happy to kind of take it. And if you guys want to, come have further long discussions with us, we'll be happy to kind of host you into our booth. We are right opposite to Salah 1 Hall on the first floor, and the entire team is here. And we'll be happy to kind of take any questions over there. All right, so perfect. 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left. And thank you very much. I really appreciate all of you here. And thank you for your time. Thank you very much.